We're live. Hello, everybody. We are waiting on Miss Joyce Vance. And while we're waiting on her, she's been doing good things out in the community. That's why she's a little late. And at some point, she'll ping me and tell me she is ready to go. But in the meantime, I'm pouring out a small bag of mini chocolate chips in preparation for the arugula I like, which involve chocolate, which should surprise no one. Hello, Mississippi. Good morning, Sam and Charlie. Here comes my dog who's just about to wake up because he's like, oh, can we be live on TV? I'd like that. Maybe I'll bark at the most important part. Syracuse, New York, and ready to bake. Yes, very nice, very nice. I'm joining you from New Jersey, beautiful, beautiful New Jersey, where we are. Here's my bowl of chocolate chips. You can all look at that. Where we are preparing for a snowstorm today. Not a big one. In fact, it'll probably end up being a bit of a nothing, but it's still snow, and you want snow this time of year, right? I wonder if you guys have all been out there baking a lot. Oh, someone's knitting. Good morning, Marissa and Norman from Detroit. I love to make rugelach too. Norman, I wonder, should I bother turning this camera just so you can see Norman is sitting out there on one of his favorite chairs that he likes to chew. There he is. There's Norman. Do you see him? There's Norman. He's sitting right here over there in the chair. It's his own chair now, and he enjoys, well, not just sitting in the chair, but he enjoys chewing the chair. Yes, 15 months old, and he thinks the yummiest thing in the house is the chair. We will help you to make rugelach out there in the Pacific Northwest. Were you getting lots of rain out there? That's what I heard. There was some bad flooding out there. So I hope you all are okay. I feel like I'm doing a radio show because I'm sort of like vamping and waiting for Joyce. But in the meantime, let me tell you a little bit about the history of the rugelach. But you know what? It's still a little early times here. I think I'm going to let people kind of come in, give us like 5 minutes or so. I feel like it's like the start of one of my lectures. I don't know if any of you know, but I'm also a professor of journalism, and I teach at nearby Montclair State University. And I always want to start class exactly on time, and then there's there's so many kids who kind of scrabble in 5 minutes late. You know who you are. That I just sort of wait a little bit and do a little bit of vamping. Normally, what we do in my classes is I make sure that they learn learn is the wrong word, but that they get interested in the news. And I make it one of the requirements for my class is that the students have to pick two different news outlets, different, um, hopefully different types of organizations, not all like Fox and the Wall Street Journal, but maybe Fox and CNN. I don't know why my screen just went dark, but let's make it bright again. No reason. Okay. Um, Mary, you lived in Montclair for 20 years. Oh, where did you live? I live in Upper Montclair somewhere. I won't tell. I'm going to turn the light on. That's why I'm disappearing here because it just seems suddenly like my phone has gotten dark, which makes me feel like I'm kind of going blind, and I don't know why my phone has gotten dark, but hey, whatever. Are you going to plug it in? My phone. Oh, that's going to be good. My technical advisor for today is Mr. Mark Bates, who literally I married a guy who was on the AV squad. So good for me. And good for all of you. The light is bugging me, so I'm turning it off. And here we go. You see me clearly? Thank you. That helps. A little bit of a note here. So just so you have an idea, I am looking straight at you here. I look at the camera, but I also have a phone right here. Some people call them age spots. I call them ugly. Anybody else remember that ad from the 70s? And so you'll be able to see what my hands are doing. Eventually, you'll be able to see what Joyce is doing once she joins us. And I look down a lot, not because I'm terribly shy, I am kind of weirdly shy, but I look down because all of your questions come zooming up the page, and I'm doing this all on my phone right now, so it makes it a little bit like, so that's why you're getting me a little bit like, yeah. I have been baking up a storm this week. If anybody follows me on my Substack, I've been making a pecan cardamom bread that has a bourbon glaze. I think we have someone who can join us now. Let me invite her. And let me just tell her, good. I've invited her. And we'll get this party started. Here she is, the woman. Oh,
Hey, good morning.
good morning and welcome, welcome, welcome. It is great to see you.
I'm so sorry I'm late. This is my public service announcement. I was off getting my shingles vaccine and the pharmacy ran late. But everybody, if you haven't and if you're of that age, it's time to get it.
It is absolutely time to get it. A good friend of mine is suffering with shingles right now, and it is the worst. I've seen my mother suffer with it. And this week, they came out with a study, and I haven't read the study, so forgive me if it's like was only 3 people in the study. I'm sorry. But
No,
there
it's a
was
good study. I've seen it too.
okay, the study that said it may help to prevent dementia. Getting the
Yeah, I mean,
shingles
it
stuff.
says it's highly protective against dementia. So, yet another reason to go get jabbed.
Exactly. And even if you've heard that people get a feeling don't feel like terrific right afterwards, doesn't matter. You will
You
feel
feel fine.
yeah, see? And you feel good enough to, I don't know, join us today. I think we have a lot of rugula lovers
That's
out there.
amazing. Look, I have dough. I made my dough last night. It's solid as a rock right now.
Yeah. Yes, I have my dough here and I took it out about 15 minutes ago and it is lovely, soft dough. Um, I was going to talk a little bit while you sort of rest a little bit, get into your zone because you did, I feel like just like zoomed right into the kitchen with like lightning coming off your feet and everything. So deep breaths. And I was looking into the history of rugula. I mean, my own personal history is that I love them. I've been eating them since I was little.
Yes.
And everyone has their own personal favorite flavor of rugula. Oh, you can't see Joyce. Is that true? Is that people can't see Joyce?
I can see me.
I can see Joyce too. If someone can't see Joyce, let me know. And so we'll just, I can turn off my camera.
I'm going to grab my black sugar and pecans while you talk. So go ahead.
Ooh, very good.
I see, huh?
You see?
I can see.
You can see. Okay, we've got some thumbs up with I can see. I want you all to understand that my husband here, who's across from me, has made the greatest sacrifice to be here. Joyce, my husband is a great Liverpool fan, and it has not been a great Liverpool season. And there's a game on right now, and the team is up 1 point, 2 points. This is like the first 2-0 against whomever. And he's actually in the kitchen with me instead of upstairs watching with my son. So
Very impressive.
that's
He wants the rugula. I know what the ultimate motive is.
Oh my God, you're right. It's motive driven.
It is.
I better make his favorite flavor. But everybody out there has a favorite flavor. What is yours, Joyce?
I like this plain basic recipe of my mom's, which we will share with people, right? When we send out
Yes.
the video. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's just brown sugar, pecans, butter, dough. And the funny thing about them is I like them better the second day with a cup of coffee than the morning. Although they're good raw, they're good fresh out of the oven. Look, they're always good.
Right. I love a chocolate chip one, and my
Mm.
own personal favorite is chocolate chip with raspberry jam.
Mm.
And you can put nuts in it, and I do have a little handful here of pecans. So I can do some nut versions as well, and I can do some non-chocolate chip versions. I have this collection of sugar and spice here that has lots of different, like pumpkin-y sort of spice and sugar, and a little bit of maple sugar. Because I was just up in Vermont, and my favorite food is maple sugar.
This is why you write cookbooks and I write books about politics. It's because as between us, you're much more creative.
I don't know. I think these days people are very creative with the law, aren't they?
Fair comment.
I'm not you. I'm
No.
talking about some others who seem to be pressed.
Yes, yes. It seems like we inevitably end up there, don't we?
Yes, we do. We always end up there. And I've said this to people before, but I never thought that in my life I would have wished so much that I was a lawyer as
Mm.
the past, I don't know, 8 years or so, 10 years, 12 years, where the law, understanding the law has been so important for understanding how to manage what's going on or understanding what's going on in Washington, D.C. Um,
But you're so law adjacent. And I think one of the great myths of American society is that this stuff is too difficult for people who haven't been to law school. I mean, I think if people like me who've been in government and lawyers share basic information, this is very accessible, right? Our democracy is meant to be accessible, not elitist.
right. But I never thought that it was going to be, in a sense, that important for me to know what's going on. And someone else
Yeah.
has said that too. The past 8 years has taught me so much about law, government, and history. And it's true. Of course, I knew what the Federalist Papers were. Of course, I knew what the idea of the founding of our Constitution and the laws in this country, the importance of them. I studied history. I'm a historian by training, as well as also being a chef. I mean, cook. But I never really thought that it would be so relevant to understanding the news every single day.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, maybe the silver lining is people are better educated about government. Maybe that means that we're all more aware and more likely to hold our elected officials accountable. So
I
the
think
silver lining, right?
I was saying to people earlier that I teach, and I think they have been really heartened to know that the students that I teach, even though I do sort of force them to read the newspaper, are far more aware of what is going on in the news. And thanks to TikTok, I will say it, where they're
Yeah.
getting news in little snippets, are far more aware of what's going on and far more aware of it in a deep way, not just like, oh, this happened. They're like, oh, this happened and that shouldn't happen because of X. And they, you know, start to have,
I
they have
think
much more.
that's right. It's easy to be dismissive of TikTok news, but
Mhm,
for
mhm.
young people, and really I do it too, right? I mean, you get exposed, you can dig deeper if you want to, but
Yep.
some of the explanations we're hearing there are very sophisticated. It's like everything else in life. You have to know your source and be vigilant about disinformation.
Right. And part of the class that I teach is all about finding disinformation, looking at disinformation. And also, as someone said here, don't get stuck in your silo. And I was like, and that's what I make sure that my students do is not getting stuck in a silo. And a lot of them come from like a siloed background, I should say,
Yeah.
right? Whether it's
I mean, don't
MS,
we all in some way, shape,
of
or
course,
form, right?
right.
Yeah.
I, I grew up at a dining table that, because that's where you grow up where I grew up in my house, it was at the dining
Me
table,
too. Yes.
um, which actually was the kitchen table. Let's take it down. Um, where we talked about politics and food and politics and food all the time. And it was our very own sort of silo of information. But we
But,
were right.
well, I mean, can we just say, though, it's, like, so intriguing because that's how I grew up too, where dinner table conversation was wide open, right? Like, no holds barred, and it's, I think, where so much of my political consciousness was shaped, although at the
Mhm.
time I didn't realize what my grandfather and grandmother were very carefully shepherding for my 3 cousins and me and our moms and dads.
Oh, that's interesting. That's that idea that they were sort of shepherding you through it. Yeah, our house was a house full of discussion, and you can see it in my brother Paul, who has his own takes on things and writes on Substack as well as my brother David, who more people know. Sorry, Paul, but more people know his takes on the news. Maybe someday, Paul, we'll see you on MS now. But in the current situation, it's my brother David who's like, "Bah, bah, bah, bah." He
Wow, the
really
sibling warfare here is frightening. I mean, wow.
I mean, my brother David is I don't know if you guys know who he is, but, "Oh, get on with it? All right, Carol, Nemo, we'll get on with it." But first I'm
Sorry,
gonna
Carol, we apologize. We have not spent time together in person for a long time, so we're catching up. Well, I let my dough soften. I still have a very
Exactly.
pulled lump of dough here. Hang on, I'm going to grab pecans. You talk.
Sure. Carol Nemo, I have a nephew-in-law whose last name is Nemo. Do you know him? Anyway, let me tell you a little bit about rugelach and the history of it. And I love all the different pronunciations of it. There's the rugula crowd, there's the rugelach crowd, which always risks spitting on your cookies. Um, but I kind of go for growing up in a German-speaking household, I tend towards the rugelach family. Rugula, they were marketed for a while as ruggies, which sounds a little weird to me. His name is Aaron Carroll. Anyway, rugelach are a traditional Jewish pastry. They are come to us from our Polish and Eastern European Jewish families. And originally they were made so that they would be kosher and you could have them for a meal with a Sabbath meal, a nice little treat. There are a bunch of different understandings of where the name rugelach comes from. You can see it at the camera here. I'm sort of fondling my dough, which you shouldn't because it has lots of butter in it and it'll make it warm. Rugelach, there are a few different ideas. Either rugelach means little twists. The thing I like better is the word, and there's a word in Polish, rog, which means horn, and so possibly it means little horns, which makes sense if you consider the shape of them. And some people also call them. It also could be translated from the Yiddish as little corners. Whatever it is, the lach makes it makes it diminutive. So that's why they're little corners or little twists, whatever you want to call them. We're going to call them rugelach. America. Oh, sorry, AV guys doing stuff. Joyce is here. Joyce, how do you pronounce the cookie?
I say rugelach, but in my family, we always called them meltaways. I have no idea where that came from. I think my grandmother once said because they melt away after you make them.
Oh, yeah, I think that makes sense. And the amount of fatness ensures a super flaky crust and super melty crust. The interesting history of this is when Jews came to the United States, they suddenly stopped. The schmaltz started kind of going down in popularity, and just around the turn of the century, it was actually the 1870s, was very popular time for French cheese in this country. And there was a man in downstate New York who thought, I will get on this craze and I'm going to make a farmer's cheese that is a soft cheese like the popular French ones right now. Well, he decided he was going to make it a little different, and he added cream to the soft cheese. So with the farmer's cheese, he added cream to it, and he made it into say it with me, cream cheese. And that's how cream cheese was born. So these cookies could never have been made with cream cheese in the old country because cream cheese is from the new country. And eventually he had friends or partner distribute this cream cheese in New York City on the Lower East Side, and his friend had the great idea to wrap the pieces of cream cheese individually. Most of the time you'd go to the grocery store in 1907 and there'd be big bulk, displays of food and you get a hunk of something. But he was like, let's wrap this in a beautiful foil wrapper. And I forget what the man's name was, but it would have made a terrible name for the cheese. So they came up with Philadelphia brand cream cheese because Philadelphia was considered the home to the best cheeses in the United States. Who knew, right?
That's crazy.
And so eventually, and this all gets into like the birth of home economics and everything. And the home economics movement, all the women who wanted to be scientists became home economists, including my great aunt Dorothy, who was a home economist from like 1917 onwards and went on to run the New York City school lunch program during the war. But that's another story. Kraft decided, because they bought up cream cheese very soon afterwards in the 1920s, that they were going to create a recipe for a pie crust that had cream cheese in it. And that's where we start making our rugelach out of cream cheese dough, because this could also be used very nicely with as a dough. Your grandma made it with cottage cheese,
Yeah.
which was also an early take. Cottage cheese was as popular as cream cheese, as so have you, like, did you ever know why she why cream cheese was cottage cheese was the idea?
No, I mean, never, it's like not really something I questioned. This is one of the few recipes that I've never messed with because I'm a huge fan of, a recipe is aspirational, right? And you
Right.
take it from the start. This is one recipe, and I make them every year at the holidays, and I never deviate. I'm going to have to deviate this morning. I can't find my pecans, so I'm going to have to dig into my stash of jam in the fridge and substitute.
I have some here. I'm sorry you're not closer. Um, so what are before we dive into this, what are your memories of your Nana baking?
I learned how to bake actually from her. She baked with all of us. Two of my first cousins are girls or women, and we all baked with her. We all cooked with her. It seemed astonishing to me when I got older that people hadn't learned how to cook before they could actually remember doing it, right?
Right.
But this is one of those recipes. So my mom, when my kids were little, my mom would come to visit us and she would make meltaways with the kids every year, and they all have memories of it. And in fact, our longtime nanny, who's now the editor for my newsletter, Catherine, when she saw that we were doing this, she texted me and she was like, "I don't have your mom's recipe for meltaways. I need the recipe." So it was just such an integral part of our family's celebration.
That's wonderful. And the filling was traditional cinnamon and nuts, right?
Cinnamon, nuts, lots of brown sugar. And the best thing about the brown sugar is you bake these at very high heat for a short period of time. You bake them at 400. The brown sugar crystallizes. And so if you put the filling in with a heavy hand, which I do, you just end up with brown sugar gooiness everywhere. And it's really good.
Yeah, they kind of for me, they often come out of the oven when I'm just sort of slobbing around and not having to photograph something, um, kind of gooey around the edges, which
Yes.
is great. It's like its own, like, fruit roll-up candy around the edges of it.
It's so good. And then you dip them in coffee the next morning, and it's just a happy, happy moment.
I'm looking forward to that. Um, let's get on with the recipe, which is beautifully simple. The hardest part of the whole
It is.
recipe is taking cottage cheese and, having to puree it before you use it in the recipe.
So, I sort of cheat. I dump the cottage cheese into my Cuisinart and whiz it up, and then I dump all the other ingredients in on top of it. Is that
That
cheating?
No, that's exactly what I did too. And I think it's a great modernization of the recipe. Uh, if anybody's out there wondering, I am going to publish, with your permission, your Nana's
Yeah.
recipe, including a photograph of the original recipe, and it's wonderful because it's on one of these great. It was like she must have had a notebook of
My
them.
mom made me a book of handwritten recipes. I think when Bob and I were newly married, and the book has fallen apart. It was a 3-ring binder. I
Mhm.
have all of the sheets with her handwritten recipes.
Oh my goodness. Um, there isn't closed captioning right now. I'm sorry, but there will be dictation with the video. So I'm sorry for that, for anybody who's asking. These sheets, I'm going to teach a class actually next year in create how to create your own family recipe books. So if
Oh,
anybody's interested
fun.
in that, you should follow me on Substack and you can join up for that class, because
When are you going to teach that? I want to take it.
I think I'm going to start in February
Oh, cool.
when maybe
Oh, can
people
you
have
hear my
relaxed.
rooster is outside crowing? I don't know if you can hear that just now.
So all you do is that's such an unattractive cooking word, is place the cottage cheese into the Cuisinart, or mash it or puree it in your blender. And then you can also use you can also use your mixer for it.
Yeah.
And mix the three together. And we're mixing cottage cheese, the three ingredients: cottage cheese, butter, and flour.
Very healthy.
Well, cottage cheese is high in protein, and it is the food of choice for many of our protein bros out there who are trying to get the
Yeah.
gains. You know what I mean?
I
So,
love cottage cheese. Cut up a little pineapple, put it on top. It's really good. My husband despises it, though.
same here. Mark,
Yeah.
do you like cottage cheese? He just made a face that was like a 3-year-old. It's like, nah, gross. The texture is a bit something. Uh, so you mix the dough, and your grandmother recommends letting it sit for at least 12 hours.
Yeah.
I think
I
that's a
don't think
great.
it needs that, to be honest. I mean, I think that's about getting it to come together so that you can then soften it and roll it out. I have done it by putting it in the refrigerator for a couple of hours and then rolling it.
Yeah, you basically want to especially if you're whizzing it around in a Cuisinart, you want to let the gluten relax. That poor gluten has been
Yeah.
eaten up. And even though, because you are mixing the flour and the butter together with the fatty cottage cheese at the same time, the flour is getting coated in fat. And that means you're guaranteed a very tender cookie. So, shall we start rolling these out?
Yes, I have my trusty rolling pin. I'm going to try to roll.
That was like my stage. I'm cutting this into 3 now.
Mine might need more time to get soft.
You know,
Can I tell you the most important thing, though, while we're cutting it about
please.
making this recipe? I always double it. Because if you don't double it, you will not have enough of these. And I just promise it's one of those things that it just makes sense to double the recipe from the get go. They freeze pretty well. I'm not a huge fan of freezing anything, to be honest.
Yeah.
But if you really wanted to, you could put these in the freezer. But better yet, if you take them to work or take them and share them with friends, you will be very popular.
Yes, I'm going to a Hanukkah party this evening and have already warned them, prepared that I'm going to be bringing these. And so the idea is, do you roll it out into a nice circle? You can, of course, use gluten-free flour for this if you have a good 1-to-1 gluten-free flour blend. I've never tried it, but it'll still be tasty and good. So we're just going to roll it out into a circle. Do you know how thick or thin we make it?
I like it thin. I err on the side of, and my dough is, of course, still too cold to roll out, so I'll just talk while you roll. But I like it really, really thin, maybe a little bit thicker on the edges. And I think part of the charm of making these is not being too precise, right? If your circle is uneven and if the edges, because ultimately we're going to cut it like pizza and roll them up.
Right.
And they're sort of cute and sweet when they're not too perfect.
And anybody who's looking now can see that I have a little hole here, which I will magically patch up. Look at that. It's magic. See? I'm going to put a little bit of flour on it, help it stick there. And when I'm rolling, this is my tip for everybody, is I turn it a quarter every time I roll, and I don't roll over the edge. When you start rolling over the edge, you're going to get yourself into trouble. You're going to get really thin edges, and it's not worth it.
What
And
are you
also,
rolling on? Do you have one of those cool plastic mats?
I do not. I have a nice board. That's all. My only trick with the cutting board is that I put a piece of wet paper towel underneath it to keep it from moving all over the counter.
Ooh, that's a great trick. Thank
Do
you.
you
We're
do
coming
you
just for that trick.
do you know that feeling where you're like rolling it and you're like, whoa, where'd it go? What do you roll your things out on?
I need something new. I have this super old piece of marble on feet, and one of the feet is gone, and it's not big enough. It was like, great for 20 years, but now I'm starting to think about replacing it.
Did you maybe it could become a nice new feeding station for one of your chickens?
Oh, undoubtedly. Everything here gets a second life where the chickens are involved.
I think I'm almost at the place where they should be.
Yeah, it looks right to me. We have
Right?
the same rolling pin. Look at us.
Look at that. So it's about this thick. Does that look good to you?
I think that's good. You don't want it so thin that they're going to fall apart and be difficult to work with. I always want to taste the cinnamon and the filling more than I want to taste the dough, but that's just a me thing.
And you don't put anything down first, like egg yolk or anything? You
No,
just
I brush them with egg yolk mixed with water at the very end.
and that makes it nice and shiny and also kind of
Yes.
sort of helps things stay inside the cookie a little bit as well. Are you baking a lot of cookies?
I am. In our neighborhood, we all share cookie boxes around, and I have other friends that I do. It's like really nice. People ring your doorbell, and it's their kids, and they're like holding plates or little bags of cookies or whatever it is. Like people in our neighborhood are super creative and wonderful about this.
That is really, really sweet. Is it organized or is it just sort of assumed?
No, we moved here, let me think, 27 years ago, something like that. And people started showing up our first year with stuff. And I think that just happens to everybody who moves into the neighborhood. And so the tradition keeps going.
Are there like favorites like, oh, Mrs. McGillicuddy's fudge is just something to be had?
I think nobody's super static about what they make. I think
Okay.
everybody experiments with different things every year. I tend to make these. Last year, I made millionaire cookies for the first time. And my daughter and I made sugar cookies, and we had a chicken cookie cutter, and she decorated them, and they were like little works of art. So that was a lot of fun.
I have to say, you posted a picture with your Substack post of your chicken cookies, undecorated still, but everybody was like, of course she has one.
I need to find the recipe decorated because she did such a great job. They were really sweet.
And in the same way that you have a chicken one, um, I this should explain a lot about me. I have a cat butt one.
No, you don't. That's hilarious.
It goes so far as to have like a little X where
We
the
can all see that, Marissa.
I didn't know if you could
That's
see.
hilarious. That is so funny. Hey, thank you. Somebody just posted a really great bamboo cutting board, so thank you for that.
Yeah, on IKEA, I think it was.
Yeah.
I have 2 of them behind me. I love them. It's a really great cutting board, and I mark it so that it's only used for, pastry. I'm just cutting up some pecans here because 'cause I'm gonna do a traditional one with some chopped pecans. I always buy my pecans this time of year at Costco, which turns out to have sued the government. Joyce, what do you think of that?
Yeah, Costco sued the government, trying to get some relief from tariffs. And as if any of us needed another reason to like Costco, there it is, right?
It's amazing. I've always agreed with their politics, I'll say it politely, and, like the way that they support their workers, and also, damn, the prices are really good.
Yeah. What's not to like?
What's not to like? Do you think they'll be successful?
The tariffs cases are interesting ones. There's this challenge in the Supreme Court that's very specific. And at the risk of boring people who are just here for cookies, I'll just say that there are a lot of different authorities that Congress has given a president to impose tariffs,
Mhm.
and they all have limitations. Maybe you can only do it for a certain amount of time, or you can only do it, at a certain percentage rate. And Donald Trump didn't like those restrictions, apparently, so he used a statute called IEPA to impose some of the tariffs. And the interesting thing is, IEPA gives the president authority to use certain financial tools, but tariffs, they're not one of them. The word tariff never shows up in the IEPA statute, which is something that as a federal prosecutor, I would put to use when we had businesses here that were engaging in support of terrorism or of unfriendly companies and were exporting technology. We would use that, for instance, to prevent those exports. So that kind of thing. But Trump's people who are very creative, right? Their use of statutes, I mean, creative, I think, is a nice word for stretching the boundaries of the law. And so they used IEPA to impose these tariffs because, under their interpretation, that meant They could impose them permanently. There were no limits. They could impose these exorbitant rates because since the statute doesn't talk about tariffs, it has no restrictions. And so the case goes to the Supreme Court, and Trump's Solicitor General makes this argument that some of the language in IEPA is broad enough to refer to tariffs, except that doesn't really make sense because we know when Congress wants to give the president tariff authority, it knows exactly how to do that, and it uses the word tariff, and it always imposes restrictions. So, that case, I think, is sort of the granddaddy. I would think that we'll get a decision in that one late in the term, maybe in June, maybe even that first week in July. Some of the other cases and some of what Costco has sued over involves other tariff-making authority. But what they're really challenging is the idea that in a situation like this, where you have some meritless tariffs, that cost should be imposed on them and their customers. So it's a very unusual new kind of lawsuit, not moving quickly because civil cases usually don't move too quickly. But I think it was a smart effort. The biggest surprise is that they haven't been joined by more businesses, but maybe that'll happen as it goes forward.
Right. Speaking of going forward, in front of me, you'll see, anybody who's looking can see that I have been sprinkling a cinnamon spice blend onto my cookie that's been rolled out here, onto the dough that's been rolled out. Mine is a sort of mixed blend of white sugar, maple sugar, and sort of pumpkin spice
Yum.
blend. A pumpkin spice blend. And now I'm going to put some pecans on top. After hazelnuts, pecans and hazelnuts are my two top favorite nuts to bake with. Last week I had if you're looking for things to make for your neighbors, Joyce, I made a pecan cardamom bread that was with a bourbon glaze over the top of it, like a tea loaf. And it makes a really nice gift for people if you're looking for something different than your traditional, like orange cranberry or whatever sort of bread.
That's the recipe that you posted, right? You posted that one, yeah.
Yes,
we are huge fans of cardamom. Our daughter spent some time in school in Sweden and came home making cardamom buns, which I think are just one of the most wonderful pieces of Swedish culture. And I really like cardamom.
You and I once met at a cardamom loving restaurant in New York City, on 14th Street. Great place.
I can't think of its name. They just opened one in Midtown too.
Oh, yummy.
Yeah, right by 30 Rock. There's a new one. Fabrique. Is that right? Something like that.
Fabrique.
If somebody knows, let us know in the comments.
Yeah, and if you get to New York City, make sure you do this. I should be doing this with I like to do it with a pizza cutter, but since I don't have one right now, and I'm sure your grandmother didn't have a pizza cutter, which is also the thing. Like sometimes now we have so many great tools at our disposal that I think we can get a little bit too caught up in the fact that like your grandmother had a wooden spoon, or my grandmother had a wooden spoon and a bowl, and a nut grinder. So I'm going to
I remember my grandmother had this huge nut grinder that would go onto the counter and yeah.
Yeah. I have my grandmother's old one here that I think my mother then inherited. Which was a hand grinder.
I have flour all over my sleeves. Look, I can't be trusted in the kitchen.
See, that's real cooking. It shows you real cooking. And how many pieces do you tend to cut this up into? I was thinking I was going to do 4, 8, and into 16.
Yep, that's exactly what I do. Sometimes I get some of them that are too skinny and small to bake, and I'm forced to eat them raw.
That is terrible. How do you deal with that? See,
I know.
We're all making sacrifices, Joyce, and it's good to hear that you're doing your bit.
Okay, I'm going to innovate here. Whatever kind of jam I have in the fridge is going on this.
Okay, people, what will it be? Will she have raspberry jam? Will she have apricot jam? I have a seedless. At this time of year, I always have a lot of seedless raspberry jam because I cook a lot of Austrian desserts, including Linzer torte, and I make a butter shortbread called Suvarovs which are basically like what we call Linzer torts here, little Linzer tarts. But it's a buttery cookie with raspberry jam and then another cookie placed on top with the little hole. You know those cookies and a bit of confectioner sugar. What'd you find, Joyce?
I found my husband is the jam guru, and he is reliably good at it. So we have mixed berry preserves.
Ooh, lovely. And Bon Mama is a really nice company too.
These
Started
are
by
just the
Holocaust
greatest
survivors.
preserves. I didn't know that, really.
Okay, I'm going to do the rolling up, and we roll up from the fat end to the narrow end.
Yes, fat to narrow, and then turn them into little crescents. Sorry, I have to get serious here and lose this sweater.
Baking in sweaters isn't easy. So here's one I've done here, and it's not necessarily big enough to. I'm going to do it like this. Do you pinch the edges or do you leave them open?
I leave them open, but I sort of stretch it a tiny bit to get a nice crescent.
Very nice. And a lot of the desserts that I know, like the croissant and things, I was taught many years ago by my father, who's Viennese, that it all came because of the Austrians suppressed the siege of the Turks' siege at the gates of Vienna, and they celebrated by making pastries in the shape of crescents,
Nice.
as a bit of a ha ha to you, Turks. And
That's crazy.
that's where apparently the croissant came from, or crescent-shaped cookies, the Kipfel, like the vanilla Kipfel, which I also make a lot of this time of year. But the internet told me that might be wrong, and I don't know. I just feel like I'm doing a disservice to my father's memory if I.
But what does the internet know, right?
Yeah, well, actually, if you ever want to have a little bit of fun, I don't mean to like teach you all how to suck eggs here, but ask Chat GPT a question about something that you know the answer to and see what happens. Because more than often than not, there will be a pretty serious mistake in it. Not that this is surprising. And once again, for those out there in TV land, I should be rolling this under the camera. I'm sorry, guys. We will be posting this recipe. I will post this recipe on my Substack, which is marissarothkopf.substack.com. Oh, here's a good one. Joyce, does this get your seal of approval?
That's beautiful. It really is.
So I have these here. And so do you know what other kinds of cookies you're going to be baking this season?
I'm going to do
prefer
these first. I'm sorry, I cut you off. What were you going to
No,
say?
I actually was cutting you off, but neither here nor there. That's very polite of you to say. Because I could talk to you at length about like Emile Bove, because he's been on my radar this week, not in a good way. And yet I'd really rather talk about cookies.
I mean, cookies are so much more fun. I mean, you've actually inspired me. I'm going to put cardamom with the mixed berry jam.
Ooh, that's going to be so good.
I think it's interesting, though, raising Judge Bove in the middle of baking makes me think about something I have two things I've been pondering a lot this week. One is this perennial question that we all have, right? What's the correct mix? How do you stay informed and engaged without ruining your life? Which I think it's just so important for all of us to confront. And in some ways, it's easier for people like me because it's literally my job to stay on top of these things. But, like when I talk with our friend Katie Fang, I would say that we're I'm going to say about 80% puppy dog content, about 5% family and the rest politics and law, because of course the intersection of that is where we live. And that's a good balance, right? I mean, I think that we just all have to think about what works for us and what's going to keep us from going nuts. That said, this administration, the breathneck pace at which new corruption is being exposed, I think, and not just corruption, right? Mismanagement of government. There's this whole question of should we be boarding Venezuelan tankers on the ocean?
Yes.
maybe seizing that oil is a good idea, or maybe that's something that really harms our standing in the world. I mean, there's everything from those macro, you know, international politics questions to these very specific legal questions, like whether it's okay for a federal judge, as Judge Bove did, to go to a speech given by the president. I think most federal judges would tell you that's really off the table because the judiciary's job is to behave in ways that mean there can never be any form of question about their integrity. And so there are all of these different issues for us to consider. But if you're just looking for the through line and trying to avoid a lot of noise right now, the through line is to focus on how this administration is trying to fundamentally alter the balance of power between the three branches of government so that we have this incredibly, muscular on steroids presidency that's seizing power from other branches. And to a large extent, and I mean, the real problem of this era is that both the judiciary, at least the Supreme Court, the district judges, the courts of appeals, I think are doing a tremendous job of doing their jobs, which is to decide what the law and the facts mean in these cases without regard to the political outcome. At the same time that the Supreme Court and Congress seem to be a little bit more willing to make this administration's uh, desire to seize power a lot easier than it should be.
Right. Um, in your book, might I add, your best-selling book, and you were even on Fresh Air with Terry Gross, Joyce.
It was so cool. She's so amazing.
I mean, that's, when you got into that portal, that's really something. But congratulations on your book.
Thank you.
And in it, you have things. I don't know if you mentioned cookies directly as something that you can do to get active. But this time of year, I do think, and, mind you, I also have a cookbook out. And I think originally, I mean, you helped launch my cookbook into the world, and I thank you.
My copy of it isn't right here. I would pick it up and hold it. It's in the other room.
I have your
You have it? Hold it up.
The Secret Life of Chocolate Chip Cookies, all based on it's like 60 different chocolate chip cookie innovations, recipes. And yes,
It's
there are
what
that
I
many.
got for my besties for Christmas and Hanukkah, so I hope that they're not watching right now. I just said it.
Oh, they're not. No, she didn't. It'll be look surprised. You don't know what's inside the book. That'll be a surprise.
That's true.
But you and I originally talked about what we can do to sort of keep ourselves a little bit sane and how we can make some inroads into having healthy interactions with people we may not agree with. And if anything's going to do it, a cup of coffee and arugula is going to do it. So
I think that's so true. Something that we are all at times undervalue is the importance of having conversations with people. And I just had an experience this week with someone who I had we had been having a conversation. This was someone who had sort of fallen down the MAGA rabbit hole, but not very deep, not very far, and was still persuadable. And sometimes just encouraging people to keep their eyes open and to think for themselves instead of being told what to think by somebody, on Fox or OAN or equally true, right, on MSNBC. I mean, we take in information, but we should still all think for ourselves.
Right. And I think we are all sort of moving at such a pace that you kind of just want like the fast food of news. It's really it's much easier to eat fast food. It's much easier to have news fast food, if you know what I'm saying.
Yes.
And not, you just grab and go. Don't have to think about it. It's a cheeseburger on a sesame seed bun, and that's what you're going to have. And it's a reasonable price, and you take it. If everyone's working along with my analogy.
And I think it's a good one, right? I mean, this notion that instead of just letting your friends eat fast food, you should maybe think about saying to them, hey, what do you know about the ingredients in the bun, right? A simple question. You're not telling people what to think. You're just giving them options.
Right. As one of my students said to me, as to how she was going to manage Thanksgiving with her family. When she knew she was going to be surrounded by a lot of people whose opinions she vehemently disagreed with. Um, she was just going to say, "Please tell me where you get that information."
Yeah, that's a
And
great idea.
and maybe why don't you check your facts? Which doesn't make people happy. I think you need to say it in a less sort of like 20-year-old sort of aggressive way, but you know what I mean. Um, one of the things I did want to point out about this cookie here is that I had a lot of cinnamon sugar here on my cutting board, and while I did not wipe it away before I put down the new piece of cookie dough because I love actually rolling dough into sugar because it makes for a lovely texture.
I do that same thing. I like it. I like how the dough comes out later on. Look, I have one of my little jam ones. I can't tilt my camera down very easily.
Oh,
But
that's
ta-da!
beautiful. We have
Thank
had
you.
requests for people to see Joyce's cookies. So, and one of the other things I'm going to also point out with this dough here is you can't feel it, but I can. There's a because television or the internet has not gotten that good yet. The little bit of butter that is at the top here, and I don't want there to be a little blob of butter that's melting out. So I'll just if I find something where it's just all butter there, I'll put a little bit of flour on it just to sort of keep it in place.
That's definitely one thing about this dough. If you end up with little blobs of butter, you've not done anything wrong. Because I'm pretty good about, I'll cut up my butter. Oh, look, now you can see my fingers.
There's
I'll
been a
cut up the
murder.
butter into slices before I throw it in. And
Yeah.
even then, sometimes it's a little bit blobby in the dough. And that just happens.
Yep. It's great. It's really hard to, I know people get very nervous about pie dough, which this is basically. Um, you really shouldn't. It's just a lovely combination of ingredients, and it's not going to be that bad. I swear to you.
I'm pretty sure that, if you have baking anxiety, this is a good recipe to start with because these are very difficult to screw up. They're going to taste good even if they look ugly. And believe me, mine are going to look ugly because I'm not at all being careful. I smeared jam all over. There's jam on the outside. So this will be a very interesting test batch.
I've just broken open my first jar of seedless raspberry jam.
Ooh.
My father was very vehement that jam in the United States was too sweet. So I do also tend to buy Austrian jam, but this is not a sponsored. This is not sponsored, but sometimes I will add a little bit of lemon zest to jam if I'm putting it into like some of my other, like my shortbread cookies that I put them into, that I put jam in, and it helps to kind of boost the flavor a little bit and keep it from being too cloying.
How do you find Viennese jam?
How do you find it?
Yeah.
Well, you have posh supermarkets. No, actually, I found this at my local ShopRite, which is not what we would call a super fancy supermarket.
Huh. I will look for that. That's interesting.
It's really good. And an apricot really is like the kind of Austrian way to go.
Love apricot jam and orange marmalade. I'm such a
Oh,
huge fan of marmalade.
oh, my husband just looked up at me like a puppy dog. His favorite thing, he's English, is orange marmalade. It's like I married Paddington Bear.
No, but it's true. My my mom's older sister, her husband was British, and that was the introduction of orange marmalade and really good roast beef and Yorkshire pudding into our
Mm.
family's recipes.
Are there other family cookie recipes?
Um, I have what says it's my grandmother's recipe for chocolate chip cookies. I think it's pretty much the one that everybody uses, but with a lot less sugar in it.
Ooh.
Um, I'm trying to think. Oh, there's this wonderful recipe called Magic Cookie Bars, and I think everybody makes some form of that, right? And my grandmother's features just a really wonderful graham cracker crust with a lot of spices in it. So I like that one.
Oh,
I think I'm going to
that's
make those. Now that you say that, I think I'll make those this year
I
too.
I love the twist of spices in the graham cracker crust that really kind of boosts it from being, and I'm a big Magic Cookie Bar fan, from being too sweet, right?
It does, because the risk is if you make them with sweetened condensed milk,
Mhm.
which she does, they're going to be gooey and wonderful. But if you like your cookies a little bit less sweet, you've got to find ways to cut it a little bit.
I gotta say, my family doesn't like coconut.
I have that problem too. Parts of my family don't like coconut, which I don't understand.
It's really sad. Luckily, one of my neighbors does, so we always can have like coconut.
Yeah.
We have our little coconut festivals. Um, Someone's using cactus jelly. My husband just sent me a note. Cactus jelly in your arugula? Wow. Oh,
That sounds really
that
good.
sounds really
I
good.
feel like I saw that. What's the name of the wonderful company in Texas that sells heirloom beans? I'm blanking out on their name right
Rancho
now.
Gordo.
Rancho Gordo. And they will often have some really wonderful sort of Southwestern jam flavors like that, but they sell out fast.
Oh. They have the best beans.
They're good, right?
I didn't put out like a great like best Christmas gifts list this year because I think Substack has exploded and everybody's doing a lot of the same thing, so I avoided that this year. But a bunch of those like bags of Rancho Gordo beans and some like fresh spices from someplace. It is in New Mexico. You're right. Rancho Gordo is in New Mexico.
Yeah.
But and a bunch of fresh spices because everyone needs fresh spices.
And Penzies, right? Penzies is a wonderful company. Speaking of companies that are warm and inclusive and wonderful, and we have a brick and mortar one in Birmingham. And so if I'm having a bad day, I'll just go there and hang out because the people that work in the store, they're like so unbelievably nice. But that's my go-to place for people that are moving or getting married, is to get them just a lovely collection of spices from Penzies.
That is a great idea.
It's a great store. Just walking in there is such a mood lifter.
And I do have to correct myself, which is Rancho Gordo. Look at the uneven way I'm cutting this. I'm going to make some big ones and some little ones. Rancho Gordo is in California. So we're going to make some.
Is that true? Wait.
I think so.
Tons of beans.
Look at this. I'm going to make these longer slivers here. If anybody's wondering what's on mine, it does look like a giant strawberry because it has raspberry jam. The little dots are not seeds, but they are mini chocolate chips because,
It's so cute.
I have to do chocolate chips. This would be much easier with my pizza cutter, which is buried.
I'm eating some of the dough now.
Do I have to eat the dough too? Let me see. Oh, it's so yummy.
I mean, it's dough, right? Mine has no sugar in it. I will say I really do like the dough when you're rolling it into the leftover brown sugar.
Yeah, it's so good. I mean, my favorite part of pie baking is actually the little scraps left over that you then turn into little cookies.
You do that too. I roll them back out and cut them into strips and put cinnamon sugar on them, and I think it's wonderful.
Or sometimes I'll make little purses out of it, like purses. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I put Nutella in them.
That sounds good.
Yeah, surprise. Nutella. Maybe I should do a Nutella version of these. Interesting point. My husband has just brought me a present from our present closet because we haven't quite used it. Also a great gift idea, however, it's a pizza cutter, but it's shaped. Well, can everyone see what it's shaped like?
It looks like the Starship Enterprise.
That is exactly what it is.
It's
a cutter shaped like the Starship Enterprise.
Love that.
If anybody has any Trekkie friends out there, I don't know where you get it though. The internet can tell us.
Yeah.
I'm going to put my jammy ones on a different tray here's my cinnamon ones here. Different tray. They're cute, right? But your encouragement to turn them into a little more of a horn shape is very good. And also important, maybe give a little press down onto where's my camera? Onto the little edge here. And
that little, the edge at the wee end of the triangle, you do always have to press in. Look, mine are super ugly. I'm like embarrassed to show them, but I will.
No, because they're going to bake deliciously. And
We're
it's
going into the oven right now.
and it is a cookie, right? So it's not like they need to win a contest. They're there to make people happy.
This is my test batch to see if I like them with jam. So,
All right. So you mostly do cinnamon sugar?
yeah, this is literally the first time I have ever deviated in any way from the recipe.
Have I turned you into a deviant, Joyce?
I think you probably have. This is probably the least of the horrible things you'll do. Okay, my timer is set for 20 minutes for them to be in the oven.
And what is the temperature that your oven is at?
400.
400.
Although my oven, she's not a great oven, so one never knows for sure what temperature she's at.
Right. And why does that bother me? What should you do about it? This is my public service announcement. 1, get your shingles vaccine. 2, be like Joyce, get your shingles vaccine. But 2, buy an oven thermometer that can sit in your oven and let you know what the temperature is in your oven. Maybe you don't have to, just so you know how to calibrate recipes. Some people get a little crabby because my cookie recipes say things like, bake for 12 to 15 minutes or 12 to 16 minutes. And how do I know what to do? You know how your oven runs. And there's certain things that you need to make sure of when you're baking a cookie. And one is silver pans. Do not use the pan that you use to roast vegetables, which is like mine, black and gunky, right? Don't use that one because it's going to absorb a lot of heat and the cookie's going to burn. Don't cook cookies too close to the bottom of your oven, or if that's where the heat comes from, mine comes from the bottom, because they will burn faster. Rotate. If you're going to cook this is the one that not a lot of people notice. If you're going to cook 2 pans at the same time, switch them top to bottom, halfway through, and back to front. Because everybody, even in the fanciest ovens, will have hot spots. And this will help your cookies come out the way they're supposed to. The other important thing is, for all the recipe writers out there, is to make sure that your recipe gives clues as to what the cookie is supposed to look like. So it should be like golden on the edges or whatever, so that you know what to look for in case the 12 to 14 minute window that I've given you as your recipe guideline doesn't turn out okay.
Do you think you can tell by smell too? I will notice because my office is right below the kitchen. We have horrible insulation. It's a really old house.
Yeah.
And sometimes I will be working and not thinking about the fact that there's something in the oven. And then I'll just get the right smell will happen right before the timer goes off.
Absolutely. Which brings me to a question that I think all of us here have. Okay? Joyce, how do you do it all? Like, you're not coming home and eating like Stouffer's mac and cheese for dinner.
But we are. My husband, he is a Stouffer's guy. He's around the corner, so I can't speak too loudly. But I mean, the most embarrassing thing is he will serve Stouffer's lasagna, and I will complain about it, and then I will eat it because it's good. I actually like it. But no, we do eat a lot of home cooked food. Oh, look, he's here. Come here, Your Honor.
Hearing slander coming from here.
Oh,
Yeah.
look, walk into
Slander.
the camera and defend
There's
yourself.
going to be a suit.
You're talking to 2.6 thousand people, so just watch your language.
I'll clean it up.
Do you want to clean it?
No. Don't interrupt. Just want to make sure you're accurate in what you're saying.
No, I guess my question, I grew up eating Stouffer's, and I would say the best Stouffer's out there is, and I will admit this, and there are people out there who are like, don't you make your own? And no, I don't, is because it's a teenage childhood, memory, is Stouffer's French bread pizzas. Who's with me? Come on.
Did you hear Bob from the background goes, yup.
Just hot enough to burn the roof of your mouth. It's key.
So here's the hot button issue, though, and this is a big divide in our family. My husband and my brother-in-law, grew up eating macaroni and cheese out of the box, which my mother-in-law made, and she always made it with meatloaf. She made like the best meatloaf in the world, but she would make the box of mac and cheese, which I absolutely despise. And my daughter makes a really good homemade mac and cheese on top of the stove, but I like to bake mine. I like to have, 4 different kinds of cheese and a really good pasta and just a little bit of herbs and sort of make the sauce and pour it over the pasta and bake it and get that really wonderful crunchy crust. I like everything about homemade mac and cheese.
I love homemade mac and cheese. And for all of you who it's the holidays and there are a lot of people that you should feel sorry for, but I grew up never eating or getting macaroni and cheese. It just did not happen in my house. It was
Wow.
just, I know. I only had mac and cheese for like the first time, I don't know, sometime in my 30s. My cholesterol levels, by the way, it's a HIPAA secret. No one will ever know. Okay. But I take Prevestatin. Thanks. Someone asked about our cholesterol
So
levels.
not eating mac and cheese didn't help. So we should all indulge.
Yeah, exactly. What a brilliant takeaway. Exactly.
Exactly. Ooh, I see a request for my mac and cheese recipe. I may actually over the holidays on my Substack share recipes at the bottom. Although you never know what will anger readers, and perhaps people that are there for law and politics won't want mac and cheese, but we'll try it as an experiment. I love the comments are great. I saw someone saying Italian family, we never had it. And I had an adoptive Italian grandmother, my grandmother's best friend, who used to make us great Italian food. So wonderful.
Yeah, my mother was from New York City, but had formative years in Italy, like on vacations. And I think, oh, hi, dog. I saw.
Oh, sit here, baby. Oh, you're a good girl.
Is that your new puppy?
That's our puppy. She's so badly behaved. Let's see. No, I don't want to encourage you to jump. I've spent the whole week teaching her not to. You're a good dog. Do you want a little tiny bit of dough? I bet you do.
See?
Come here. There you go. Oh, what a good dog. All right.
Someone said I love shared recipes, and I do too. Yeah,
Me
mom's
too.
family from northern Italy. Somebody saying that my mother cooked she could make a great carbonara, and that was our equivalent of mac and cheese.
I do love a good carbonara. That sounds great.
I love carbonara. I'm getting ready to make my last roll out of dough here, but in the meantime, oh, and there's a giant dog hair on it. Is that too much for everyone? Can we talk about pet hair and food?
We went out to a party last night, and I realized as we were walking in that my black sweater was covered in German Shepherd hair, and our whole house is. It's just, it's like, don't come to our house if you don't like dogs, because the house is theirs, not ours.
What I'd like to, I'm going to walk to my refrigerator and I'm going to get an egg. I should have been prepared, but I wasn't. I don't have a staff. Oh, wait, my husband is going to go get one for me. Thanks, Mar. Everybody, thank you.
Your staff is helpful, and my staff just comes in to defend his honor. There's a real difference here.
Why, thank you, sir. Okay, they're all stuck in here. Okay, thanks. No, I got one. You have a new feed. Oh, someone says
That's a great comment. Oh, the only thing I hate about Substack Live is that y'all can't show us pictures, because I would love to see your Newfoundland.
Yeah, my dog is apparently half Newfoundland, and when we were being interviewed by rescues for to get a dog, we had a woman, just the loveliest woman, who talked to us about Newfoundlands. They also interviewed my neighbors to find out whether or not we fought or not. It was a bit invasive, but whatever. They want to make sure the dogs have a good home. But she was like, "You guys like drool, right?" And I'm like, yeah. Cause she's like, cause your Newfie's gonna drool a lot. We ended up getting a mix. So we have 2 very sheddy dogs, in one, border collie Newfoundland mix.
Oh.
And my question to you is, how do you balance?
Can you hear this one?
What, did you make a noise?
She's down here whining. She wants more dough.
And will you give her more dough?
No, she's had enough dough. I'm gonna make you lunch in a little bit, okay? Be a good girl.
Okay, let's talk about you making them lunch. A couple days ago, there was a picture of this delicious, I don't know, breakfast. I would have eaten eggs, carrots, and
It
you
was
were mixing it
good.
up. Was it for Bob, or is Bob eating Stouffer's while you're making food for the dogs?
I think Bob was at work. For whatever reason, he wasn't here. And, I had been gone. I've been on my book tour, so I have not been home very much. And
Right.
my older German Shepherd, Bella, is clearly missed with me. So I've been trying to get back into her good graces by making extra special food. And they really like omelets. And a lot of the time I'll make them omelets with a little bit of cheese. But they like carrots. I give them carrots to chew on instead of bones in the house. I'm
Yes.
not sure why I think that's a good idea, because if you've ever walked into the living room and seen like chewed up carrot on your rug, that's bad. But I chopped up carrots and I sort of stirred them around in the pan in olive oil before I put the eggs in. And so I always make a little bit for me too. And it was really delicious. It was really good stuff.
Do you eat it on the floor with them, or do you,
No, I
no?
I don't. I sort of lurk over the counter and eat. They are really cute. They're not patient, and so if you tell them, "Girls, we have to wait until your food sort of cools off to eat," they're
Yes.
just very, very insistent, as only German Shepherds can be.
Yeah. Uh, do your dogs talk too? My dog
Oh,
is
yeah.
like speaks in full paragraphs,
Yeah.
and I wish I could understand them better.
Um, we have never had German Shepherds until about a decade ago. My husband's, assistant had an unplanned pregnancy. Her German Shepherd, uh, got pregnant with another German Shepherd. And so our first German Shepherd, who Bob brought home as a surprise to me a couple of days before Christmas, right after Hillary Clinton lost to Donald Trump.
Oh, so you
And
needed
so
something.
he knew I was going to leave the Justice Department, and he thought, oh, she's going to be so depressed. I'll get her a dog. And it was sort of like, have you met me? We've been married for like 25 years. Do you know I just did not get, thank God, the depression gene. But I got Bella, this wonderful puppy who sat at my side through the early days of the Trump administration. Oh dear. Elsa is back. She wants to play. Um, she has this great eggnog carton toy that came from someplace. And the noise that you can hear is she's chewing on it. Yes, you're adorable, sweetie. But anyhow, so that was how we got our first German Shepherd and really fell in love with the breed. Bob's mom bred show dogs and
Oh,
was really, really good at it. And she showed her dogs, and then she treated them completely like family members when they weren't being shown. But they had Great Danes, which I love and would love to get a Great Dane. And then they had Salukis, which are these just beautiful dogs that think that they're cats, right? I mean, and I can remember, and I guess this is where I got it from. My father-in-law would make them waffles on Sunday mornings. And I
oh.
can still sort of hear him in my mind going, come here, little angels. And he would sort of like cut them up and give them plates of waffles. So.
Oh. So I need some dog therapy, and maybe there are other people out there. My dog is, I think he's still growing brain cells. I and I'm I'm just a little worried that, like, he's kind of, how do I have more patience for him?
Because you don't really have any choice. I mean, I don't know. It's like, it's so interesting. Yes, Elsa, you're a good girl. Elsa will bring me her ball. And like, our house is not a big house. It's an old house and it's
Mhm.
not an open floor plan. So when you're throwing a ball for a dog in the house, most of the time you're just hitting a wall someplace. If you're really lucky, you get it past her and it goes down the stairs. Yes. Um, and so, it's like I spend a lot of my life throwing a ball for her because that's her new thing right now. But she's a German Shepherd and she wants jobs. And so, one of her jobs right now is to learn how to sit on command. And she enjoys that so much. She loves it when I work with her. She loves it when I throw the ball. and she's really nice, and she never talks back. She doesn't tell me my legal opinions are wrong. She like doesn't want to, put me in jail or anything. So I have that endless patience for her.
You know what? See, I knew you'd have that sort of right mindset about it. And you're right. I should be doing more training with my dog because it really does keep all those brain cells that I know he's growing.
They really do love that. When Bella was little, I had this, I don't know where I got it, this big collar that was like a farm dog collar. And I would pull out the collar and go, "Do you want to play farm dog?" And she would get super excited. And this, I think, must have been during the pandemic because I had a lot of time. So I would put the collar on her and we would walk sort of the perimeter of our yard. And that was when we first had chickens and she was learning to be the chicken shepherd. And I mean, she loved it. Her favorite thing was when the farm dog collar came out.
Oh my gosh.
I'm probably totally embarrassing myself now. But,
No,
yeah.
I love this. I think people appreciate seeing this side of you because, like I was saying earlier, you seem to work nonstop. How many podcasts did you do this week? How many live events did you do this week? How many pieces of scholarly exegesis on law did you put out on Substack?
But I mean,
Many.
look, the deal is, and I've told this story a couple of times during the Obama administration, my colleague in New Jersey, we were doing a lot of work on criminal justice reform. And
Mhm.
our criminal justice system needs reform. I mean, in many ways, that's a big part of America's unfinished business on race and social justice.
Right.
And we were working so hard to get stuff done, especially in the last couple of years. And my wonderful colleague in Jersey, Paul Fishman, said at one point, "Vance, we can sleep when it's over." And I hear that still in my mind so frequently, right? Because I mean, this is a moment where if you have the opportunity to do something to help defend democracy, then you just have to do it. And we'll all sleep later on because there will be a later on.
And that's the thing that we have to keep in mind. At some point, I can become a professional birdhouse painter or whatever it is.
Absolutely, right?
But right now, we've got a lot to do. Paul Fishman, I think, I don't want to give things away, lives quite near me. That's all I'll say.
Don't think I knew that. He was a great U.S. attorney. He's a wonderful friend, and he's now involved in a number of cases, including he's the lawyer for your congresswoman who has been charged with assault based on, many of y'all will remember this, and this is something that I wrote about on Civil Discourse. The congresswoman who was inspecting an ICE facility, which is Congress's job, by the way. And that was the moment where they arrested and then unarrested the mayor of Newark.
Right.
But she was charged with assault. People are saying I have an expectant pup, and that's really true. Look at her. Can you see her on the floor?
Oh.
Probably all you're seeing now is my messy kitchen, but she's yeah. But it's people like Fishman who are stepping up and defending these cases, which doesn't make you popular, right? I mean, we know that lawyers, like judges, sometimes draw the administration's ire.
Yep.
And this week, of course, there's been a lot of talk about the administration targeting folks. So, I mean, it's a difficult time. It's a fraught time. We all do different things. But Elsa, I'm so sorry that there is no role for you to play in democracy. I'm very sorry.
No, but I think there is, and that's keeping you going.
She definitely does do that.
Right? Someone beautifully described the dog fur and cat fur, because I have 2 cats as well, that I often find in my baked goods. Not often, I don't want to give that impression, but LaMonica McIver. Yes, that was her name. Thank you. That is her name. Described the um dog hair, cat fur as dog glitter, which is beautiful. It says that Joyce Vance's internet connection is unstable. We'll see why she comes back. I'm going to put my cookies in the oven right now. I have brushed them with an egg wash, as you may or may not have seen. And I'm going to put 2 in at the same time. So that means that I have to switch them around. You have a lot of glitter in your life. Absolutely. Somebody also put into the text that they have their deaf dog knows ASL, which is truly impressive. I'm going to re-invite Joyce to this event. And hopefully she will join us. Okay, so you guys need to, would I please send the recipe? Yeah, let me just repeat that while we have a little bit of a down moment here, is that the recipe will be on my Substack, which is Marissa Rothkopf.substack.com. And my name is hard to spell, but it's MarissArothkopf.substack. Yeah. So while we're doing this, while we're waiting, whoa. We are going to, people are telling me about which pets they have, and I'm like, whoa, completely distracted by it. What do I fill this third batch of rugelach with? I have got apricot jam here. I've got more chocolate chips. I've got some nuts. I'm going to a house where I don't think it's a big nut house. Sounds wrong. What should I fill it with? Anybody? We got some. Anybody want to vote for apricot jam? Some brown sugar? Can I use this dough for Turkish delight cookies? I mean, cookies that have Turkish delight in them? I don't think I've ever heard of that. That's amazing. Mark, can you do me a favor? Can you go onto my computer and go into my texts and tell Joyce that I have sent her a new invitation? Apricot? We're going apricot. Anything with the apricot? Ooh, candied ginger. Ooh, marmalade. Ooh, should I do marmalade? Apricot jam. Nuts? What about nuts? Beautiful jam here. Ground walnuts with powdered sugar. Oh, that would be great, but grinding them up so that they're really fine to eat would be a really good idea. I think I'm going to do a simple apricot one and a little bit of Nutella. Shall we do Nutella? Let's do Nutella. I'll go over here this way to just looking at a piece of dough. Isn't that great? I don't think I have enough Nutella on the Gippo, guys. So be it. Welcome to my little cookie factory. We are making, hopefully Joyce will come back on. We are making, in my house, I've also, I have a lot of apricot jam in the house because I've been testing a recipe for Sachertorte. Do you know what Sachertorte is? It's like the traditional Viennese chocolate cake with, it's a sort of, it's not a very sweet chocolate cake with a layer of um, apricot apricot jam, basically. And then a thin layer of chocolate on top. And I tested the recipe. I made an enormous amount of it. And I have so much sachertorte in my house that it's a bit crazy. Oh, we have some crunchy. This is a great crunchy Nutella that I have, thanks to my husband. And I'm going to do something absolutely crazy, and I'm going to spread some of it onto my dough here. Spreading Nutella is really one of the worst things you can do. It's really hard. The smartest way to do it is to pipe it onto something and then spread it around. But we don't have time for such things, do we? But will Nutella be good with apricot jam? Yes. Yes, it will. We have Joyce back on somehow. I think we have her internet is unstable, which is unfortunate. That just happens. The apricot jam is actually making the Nutella much easier to spread. I'm going to tell you that this Nutella and apricot jam is going to be pretty darn amazing. Oh, well, people mit Schlagsahne. Ja, da mit Schlagsahne. You must have Schlagsahne. I mean, you have to have whipped cream with everything in a Viennese way. I'll show you this giant cake I've been making. Here it is. Whoopsie. That's the very unattractive part of it. Let's see. There we go. This is the giant Sachertorte that I made. Actually, if I hold it up this way, it's better. It smells so good. The challenge is getting people to. Oh, okay. I'm going to invite Joyce back in. One more time. There we go. 1 second. Sorry, guys. Technical difficulties. I'm going to cut you all a piece of Sachertorte right now while we're waiting. So you take a big look at this. It's a very dense cake, layer of apricot, and this very thin glaze of chocolate. It's really good. I'm not going to eat it though, because I've not been trained professionally to eat on camera like people on the Food Network are. So here we have this very messy, wonderful mixture here. And I wonder what you guys are cooking out there. Can you tell me what about the cookies in your world? Or your great gift ideas? Let's see. Yeah. So I make a Linzer tart, and the Linzer tart has chocolate in it. And this is becoming very difficult to cut because the dough's gotten really soft. Use the pizza cutter. I could. Oh, someone says they thought Sachertorte has a cherry filling. No, that's Schwarzwälder Kirschtorte, which is wow. The Enterprise cuts things beautifully. I will say that. Let me show you. Very smooth, as you might expect a spaceship too. Okay, I'm going to try inviting her one more time because we don't want to lose her. This is great. Homemade pot holders. Wow, I haven't made a pot holder in a long time. You use like a specialty pot holder maker? There she is, the man, the myth.
Let me back.
I know.
Look, I have cookies. I took advantage of the time it booted me off the live to take them out of the oven.
Can you show us what they look like inside?
They're super ugly. Wait, hang on.
I'm making the ugliest filling right now. You missed it, but I've just smeared together apricot jam and a crunchy Nutella that I have.
Oh, that looks good. Look, here's the insides. Can you see?
Hold that. Oh, that looks perfect.
Wait,
taste it.
It's really hot. Are you gonna make me burn my tongue?
Yeah. Sorry, America. I'm doing mean things to Joyce Vance.
They're good. Berry jam and cardamom. Do you want one? Here. Very good. Definitely good taste.
Good enough for the dog. Someone just mentioned Zimtsterne, which are cinnamon stars, and I made my own version of cinnamon stars cookies. The recipe's going to go up tomorrow. It's for a paper-thin cookie that's flavored with ginger, cloves, and a lot of cinnamon and orange rind. And they are like shortbread cookies and are really delicate and beautiful. And you can make them, I make them cat butt shaped cookie cutter, but you can do polite things too, like hearts or stars. If you're
Would I do chickens? Would they hold a chicken shape nicely?
Oh, they would beautifully hold a chicken shape.
That sounds so good. When are you going to send that recipe out?
That will be tomorrow.
On your Substack?
Yes, on my Substack. Oliver, can you do us a favor? My son is here. Can you show us, bring Norman over in the way you like to carry him? My son works out so that he can carry the dog in his arms.
You know, it's a fun fact that we both have Olivers.
Well, that's true. He doesn't want to be picked up? Oh. The dog is asleep, so I'm basically doing a very mean thing to the dog. Never mind. Cat buck and chicken cookies. That's us.
That could be, sort of like a movie. Sort of like one of my all-time favorite books was Julie and Julia, the book about the woman who cooked her way through Julia Childs. And so I was listening to it on Audible, and I called my best friend. I was driving up to North Alabama, and I was like, we have to do this. And I told her all about the book, and we were so excited. And then we didn't do it, of course. But, maybe we could like work our way through the cookie lexicon using cat butt and chicken cookie feathers.
I do want to do that. I mean, maybe that should be my next goal. Christmas, I could be baking cookies all the time. The only thing
Me
that stops
too.
me is that I have to sit down and write down the recipes for people. But other than that, I just feel like I want to create a factory of cookies, a cookie factory. Someone asked what is behind me, and I've been talking a lot about my Austrian heritage as far as baking is concerned. But I also have been married to an Englishman, as you noted, for a while now, a long while. And over here, wrapped double is a Christmas cake that weighs, let's just say, a lot. And that if you dropped it on your foot, it would hurt. It has about 2 pounds. Now, remember, this is only 9 inches round. It has 2 pounds of dried fruit in it, plus dried fruit soaked in booze. And then, as some of you know, you then do what's called feeding the cake. And every week, I unwrap the cake just like this. Sorry for the rattly noise. And I have it double wrapped here. And I take it and I pour. Here it is. I pour liquor over it. Right now, I'm using a cider royale, which is a boozy apple cider that is and Applejack that comes from nearby. I had the founder of the company on my Substack a few weeks back, and he gave me a bottle of this, and it smells so good.
Amazing.
Sorry?
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
But it is really, truly just a beast of a cake. And it's not enough that it will just be like this. I will then glaze it with marmalade, roll out marzipan, put that on top, and then put a fondant on top of it, and then make little decorations. So it becomes its own beautiful little present.
Wow. Is that Christmas Day or Christmas Eve? I need to know so I can be there.
It is Christmas Day.
Mm.
Um,
I always make a sticky toffee pudding for Christmas Eve. We have friends over, and I cook, so nobody else has to. And sticky toffee pudding is it's another one of those wonderful, iconic British desserts. My recipe is from Bon Appetit, but it's great.
you should try mine.
I will. Are you going to send it?
It's a sticky toffee cake. It's a sticky toffee cake. So you can, it's not as fussy as having to make to steam it. Do you steam yours or do you bake it?
I don't. No, the Bon Appetit one really is more cake than pudding. It's really good. Send me a recipe. I'll compare them.
Yeah. He's like, I don't know if I want that. No, Bon Appetit has fantastic recipes. We in my house we celebrate. In my house growing up, we celebrated both Christmas and Hanukkah because my mother my father obviously was Jewish. My mother also was Jewish, but less obviously because she grew up on the Upper East Side of New York. So she was an assimilated German Jew, they were really ethical culture. So they were, she got confirmed. She never got a bat mitzvah. It was really, and they had a Christmas tree and a big Christmas party. So I grew up in that sort of household.
That's funny. That's very similar to my family because we always celebrated Christmas because my aunt had married an Englishman and he was Christian, and they actually converted. They both became Quakers, like really interesting, wonderful people. But we had Christmas tree and Christmas and Hanukkah, which is why I love to celebrate everything. I mean, I will adopt your holiday if you're not from my culture and celebrate it vigorously.
Well, isn't that also kind of a nice message for the world we live in right now? Is embracing other people's cultures, because many people have seemed to have forgotten, I don't know, ice, that we're a melting pot here. I don't care if you call us a stew, a melting pot, whatever it is. We only get to know each other better by sharing our cultures with each other because that's what makes us sort of great. I mean, I hate to sound like a Hallmark card.
But it's so true. I mean, I wrote when I talked about us doing this that culture is always upstream of the politics, right? And so one of the best things that we can do is embrace culture. I mean, I was thinking this morning about how much less rich my life would be if my mom hadn't had tamales, because I grew up in Los Angeles.
Oh my God.
So tamales for Christmas morning that my mom's neighbor Carmen made, right? I mean, like all of those things are so wonderful. Like, why wouldn't we want to be a melting pot and learn from other people and adopt their wonderful traditions? And I don't know. It seems silly to me to be so scared of immigrants.
Yeah, since we almost all of us were. I want to show you also not stunningly beautiful, but they are brown and gooey, and I can see little chocolate chips popping out of them. These look phenomenal. And you can really see the flakiness of the dough. I mean, it looks beautiful. When it's cool enough, I'll show you.
Those are really lovely.
Thank you. Do you have any words of wisdom for the people out there? Any Christmas or holiday thoughts for people before we let everyone go off into the world?
I just feel like the most important thing is for us to all celebrate and be together, whether it's online like this. I mean, this is so much fun. This is something I never get to do, baking cookies with a girlfriend and 3,000 of y'all.
Exactly.
I mean, it's just such a fun thing. We all need, the reason that we fight so hard for democracy is because it lets us live the lives that we want to live. So let's go out and live those lives and have a lot of fun for the next few weeks.
Absolutely. And think of others. I know that today my local food pantry is having a triple matching. So if you give money to, not you, but if one gives money to my local food pantry, the match will be tripled. So, I mean, it will be matched and tripled. So that's a great way also to kind of think of others at this time of year. I find I'm making cookies for all, but also hopefully can share with some of them. Maybe it's a similar thing is happening in a food pantry near you.
I love that. It's a great time to bake for your local firefighters. And this year I'm adding local librarians, some of America's greatest heroes.
If you want to have fun on Instagram, find the Instagram posts from local librarians who are doing God's work out there with humor and just little digs at what's going on in the world right now, and it's wonderful to see. Joyce, I feel like all of our connections here are getting a little iffy, but hopefully we can all connect via cookies. And I'll post this recipe. I thank you so much for being here today. Joyce, I haven't cooked with you since COVID, where we cooked this fantastic.
It's been that long, right?
It's been that long. We cooked a coffee flavored cake with, I made her make praline.
The shards of praline, I shattered them and we put them around the edge of the cake. It was gorgeous.
It was really pretty. Also a great Christmas idea. But I will also post that recipe too. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, because I haven't been able to answer them all and Joyce hasn't been able to, when I post the recipe later today, you can ask all your baking questions there. All right?
Sounds like a plan. Thank you so much for having me. Thanks to all of you for coming and indulging in a little bit of frivolity, not our usual programming. This has been great, Marissa. And thank you, Mark.
And thank you, Elsa and Bob. See you. Enjoy your Stofers. See ya.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.